Thank you, Lois. My fellow officers, Dr. Showie, Dr. Bamba, Dr. Rossman, Dr. Bergeron, Dr. Kabosh, Dr. McMillan, Executive Vice President Ms. Cornell, AMA Board of Trustees Chairman Dr. Harmon, Mass Medical Society staff, fellow Medical Society members, honored physicians from around the country, cherished family and friends. I want to thank you all for joining us this evening, which is not only a celebration of achievement, but also a significant moment of continuity and transition for this most august of state medical societies. During the Cold War, when a senior administration official was asked about his job description, he reflected for a second and is reported to have stated that his job was to turn West Berlin intact over to his successor. In that sense, I have fulfilled one mission, stepping down as your president and turning this thriving and vital society, which I inherited from Dr. Jim Gessner, over intact to our new president, Dr. Alain Showie. As an elected officer, I quickly learned that simply sitting behind the helm of the USS Massachusetts Medical Society, while anchored and with the gangplank extended, is not an acceptable role for the president. This society, in the parlance of John Paul Jones, is indeed a fast ship to go in harm's way, protecting both the patients we serve and the physicians we represent to the utmost of our ability. The role of the president, with the help of the other officers and staff, is to navigate through the storm, keep the ship off the reefs, call the crew to action stations as necessary, and see that the society accomplishes its missions. And we have had many missions this past year. Some of these missions were started even before I became an officer, and some will continue long after Dr. Bamba has completed her term as president. In some sense, we are like the cultivators of bonsai trees, often starting one, but knowing that we will be long gone before it has flourished. So what have we done in the past year? I will mention just a few of the high points. The complete litany would last until Saturday night, and I believe the House of Delegates has other things to accomplish tomorrow. We have made great strides in the battle against both chronic pain and narcotics addiction. Numbers of prescriptions and quantities of prescribed opioids have decreased substantially. For the first time in the past few years, the total number of deaths from opioid overdose has slightly decreased rather than increased in the Commonwealth. Through our continuing medical education courses, we have provided free of charge education about safe and proper opioid use to thousands of physicians and medical students, both within our state borders and beyond. The Society has partnered with both local and state government, as well as the insurance industry, to not only cut down on addiction, but to treat addiction as the chronic brain disease which we have come to recognize that it is. We have promulgated controversial, yet data-supported new forms of treatment. And while these have not always been met with enthusiasm by those outside of our society, we have continued to look for any valid mechanism to save lives. That's our job. We have been strong advocates for access to both optimal health care for our patients and sustainable working environments for our physicians. The demoralization and frustration of our physician workforce must end. Physicians want to do the right thing and need the proper setting in which to do this. Striving to obtain such a work environment is also our job. The late healthcare economist, Dr. William Baumol, stated that healthcare, like police work and education, was what he called a handicraft specialty. The quality of the product was a function of the time the policeman spent with the crime scene, the teacher with the student, and the doctor with the patient. Any attempt to increase productivity by shortening the length of the encounter was guaranteed to degrade the quality of the outcome. Truer words were never spoken. Therefore, we have fought to increase the length of the useful encounter time with our patients, and in doing so have had to go up against those who would rather we spent all of our time typing into the computer, dealing with drop-down menus from electronic health records that work poorly, if at all, and arguing with those who would deny prior approval of what is best and proper care for our patients. This battle will continue because it is the right thing to do, and we will eventually win because the alternative is unacceptable. We have dealt with emotionally charged issues concerning end-of-life care, issues which divided the population in general and our society in particular. Rather than sweep such issues under the rug, we have brought them out into the open, debating them with great vigor on both sides in a transparent and democratic fashion. As a result, we have established ourselves as the guardians of both patients and physicians regarding this topic while we move forward through engaged neutrality. I say this latter because we take for ourselves, as physicians, the engagement role of considering any change in the laws of the Commonwealth which affect the end-of-life care for our patients. It is the role of our medical society to look upon any government legislation proposals from the perspective of keeping such changes specific to the charge of the House of Delegates of the Medical Society while protecting the overwhelmingly larger number of dying patients from misapplication of such legislation, either by accident or by design. On this and other issues, our advocacy has reached out to legislators on Beacon Hill and Capitol Hill. Our prepared positions, data, convictions, dedication, and passion have been acknowledged as always being in our patients' best interests, and we have earned strong mutual respect from those lawmakers as we move forward. Our opinions are sought and valued, a credit to the enormous hard work performed by all. Most understand that our positions are not merely self-serving, but necessary if we are to provide the kind of medical care that all of us want, not only for our patients, but also for ourselves and our loved ones. You may ask, how has this been accomplished, and how are we able to move forward so well? We are extremely fortunate to have a society membership that believes in our motto, every physician matters, every patient counts. One only has to look at the committees and task forces, the House of Delegates, district societies, and the Board of Trustees to see physicians who voluntarily give up their evening and weekend hours to work hard for others. At the same time, we have a medical society staff which is the gold standard by which other societies should compare themselves. I must say that we would not have accomplished 1/10 of what we did this past year without the outstanding and meticulous work of Executive Vice President Lois Cornell and her team. People are either dedicated to a cause or they are not. You can lead by example, but you cannot make people personally feel the urgency and the importance of the mission. That has to come from within. And our medical society staff are among the most dedicated I have encountered in the 44 years since I graduated from medical school. I literally cannot thank them enough. I've also come to appreciate the talents and accomplishments of my fellow senior presidential officers, Alan Showie and Marianne Bamba, even more over the past year than I did before. I was extraordinarily fortunate to work with such insightful, compassionate, and experienced physicians who espouse the same goals and values as I do, and at times were able to add to the debate a perspective that I had either missed or articulated poorly. This was team medical administration at its best, which I know will continue under President Showie's tenure. I hope that in some way I can be a resource for him, as Presidents Dennis Dimitri, Jim Gessner, and all the other past presidents of the Society have been for me this year. One truly does stand on the shoulders of giants. To list all of the other remarkable leaders in their officer, committee, task force, board, and delegate roles would be an unending litany of people dedicated unswervingly to the goals of the Society. I hope that over the course of the year I've had the opportunity to let each of you know directly of my gratitude for both your work and your friendship. But if not, let me thank you here and now for making the Massachusetts Medical Society so successful. As I have said many times at the hospital when receiving a compliment from our administration, your kind words of encouragement are much appreciated, but the team does all the work and I get half the credit. So it's been with the Mass Medical Society. I now want to also acknowledge perhaps one of the most incredible annual education meetings, programs we have ever had. And for this, I want to thank my friend Dr. Jeff Drazen, our New England Journal of Medicine editor-in-chief. The author of the old adage that success is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration may have been off in the exact proportions, but the general ratio is fairly accurate in describing what Jeff and a large segment of the MMS and New England Journal of Medicine staffs went through to bring us all today's program. Bravo and well done. Sorry, Alon, but there you have a tough act to follow. A year ago, I introduced some of the family and friends whose help got me to where I am today in the theory, practice, and teaching of medicine, as well as in my role at the Medical Society. Kathy, my lovely wife of almost 40 years, has had to put up with a lot, which she has done cheerfully, not missing a beat even while getting a hip replaced. Our children, Molly and Robert, have loved and encouraged me every step of the way. The Sloans from Allentown, Pennsylvania, as well as the Servers and Gordons from our western suburbs, are here tonight, as they were a year ago, to hear in summary about that which has transpired over a short 12-month period. And I am delighted and grateful that my sister, Joellen Kopecki, and her husband, Carl, are here tonight as well. Joellen, an author and motivational speaker, has been there with me for more years than anybody else, has loved her older brother despite my teasing her unmercifully when we were young, and shares many wonderful memories from our early days with our parents in Camden, New Jersey. Her husband, Carl, a museum director, is my history guru and someone with whom I look forward to spending many more hours discussing and examining the history of our great country. The love and friendship of these people at my table tonight mean far more than I can express adequately. In closing, I want to again thank you all for the privilege of being the 135th president of the Massachusetts Medical Society. I would like to leave you with two thoughts from Hopkins physicians who preceded me in Baltimore and whose instructions have helped guide me in my career. The late Dr. A. McGehee Harvey, physician-in-chief of the Johns Hopkins Hospital, used to tell us, the human side of medicine will always be kept foremost in all that is done. That in spite of the rapidly increasing technological trappings of hospital medicine, it will never be forgotten that in every patient there is a person. And it is my belief that my late father, Jerome Richard Dorkin, MD, Phi Beta Kappa and Alpha Omega Alpha in the Hopkins class of 1944, would, with great satisfaction, approve of our efforts and progress in following Dr. Harvey's tenets, while himself echoing the comment attributed to Winston Churchill long ago about another issue, but nevertheless a quote which I have used before and which is again apt here. So much done, so much left to do. I look forward to continued service to you all in other capacities, both at the Massachusetts Medical Society and the American Medical Association, in many things, but especially in the area of medical education, which has been a central theme in my career. Together, we will march side by side to achieve our common goals. I am and will always remain in your debt for the opportunity you have afforded me. Thank you.